and welcome back. This is your man Warrior, and this is going to be a semi-in-depth review of General Veers. The reason for this is the rework. We're going to have the Trooper video to show you kind of how their rework looks, and we want to show off General Veers. I did get exclusive access from EA to this particular pre-build, which shows off General Veers. So for that, thank you, EA. It is nice to be able to have a little bit of access early to showcase what these characters are capable of doing. Now, General Veers is, of course, Empire. He now has the new tag Imperial Trooper. He is a support character, but he is truly the leader for your Imperial Troopers. Now, we're going to go ahead and go through really quickly all the little sections of him. He is max gear 11, and all his attacks and abilities are completely Zeta and Omega. He has phenomenal mods on him, and then we'll go in and we'll play. First, let's see where he's at. So what is really nice is he is currently the daily login for everyone, and you should be able to get about 30 shards of him and unlock him if you do not have him this month. But he is an early game to mid game unlock if you wish to make him so. He is on the light side battles and the dark side 6D and light side 4C and 6C. My favorite of all of these three to do, and because I always look at economy of motion, right? What do you get? You got to look and see how much you get of everything. And so obviously you get the most out of this dark side and light side at the end. And these Mark III Carbonti sensor arrays are an absolute pain in the butt, and everybody needs them practically. So my favorite of all of these to farm is going to be the 6D dark side that will put you kind of mid-game to be able to unlock 6D. So General Veers' power is around 9,000. With good mods, it's around 10,000. His base speed is 137, with the average around 132. He is above average on speed, and remember, his abilities give 20 speed plus additional 10% turn meter every time they get a buff. That is awesome. His health is about average at 16,000. Now, everything about General Veers and his rework are absolutely amazing, except for two reasons. One is they do not have a cleanser, and that is absolutely critical. I've talked about that he's going to have a cleanser on the team, so you're going to have it be 4 of them plus 1 cleanser. But the other negative, if you want to call it a negative, is going to be his gearing. Now, not only does it cost a lot of credits to gear him up, and he's over the average on purples, but his raid gear, which again is gear you cannot get any other way other than through the raids, is 6, and the most you can have on a character is 7 right now. The highest is 7, so he's like the third worst / second, tied for second worst. There's a few that have 7 raid gear pieces and a few that have 6 raid gear pieces, but there's only a handful that are at the 6 and 7 level, and he is unfortunately one of them. So if you go all in, make sure before you make that decision that you know you're in a heroic raid guild, that you're doing the raids, that you're able to get these rewards, because if not, you will get bottlenecked and stuck at right about gear 10 with him, and you won't be able to get him any higher, because 5 out of the 6 pieces to get him from 10 to 11 is raid gear. So pretty crazy. Now let's go ahead and just really quick zip through his attacks and abilities and talk about why General Veers' new kit is absolutely amazing. Now his basic is called Daring Attack. It says it will deal physical damage to target enemy with a 70% chance each to grant speed up for 2 turns to General Veers and a random Imperial Trooper who doesn't have it. So 70% chance to grant speed up for 2 turns to both General Veers and another character really is amazing. That's a plus 25% speed. It's exactly opposite, obviously, of speed down. So this is a really, really great buff. Now, the other thing is this is a buff, and that's going to come into play in a minute. So you want to remember that he's buffing this Imperial Trooper team with speed up. His first special has a cooldown of only 4. It's called Ruthless Assault, and this is what makes him absolutely amazing. Just like General Kenobi has a joint attack, just like Cody and the clones have a joint attack. But I feel like this is one of the best, if not the best, joint attack in the game. It will deal special damage to all enemies with a 55% chance to inflict ability block. So now he's already dealing damage and potentially ability blocking the primary target. And it says dealing 10% more damage for each living rebel enemy. So this is targeted at even doing more damage per living rebel enemy, which can get crazy overpowered if you're going against turret-based characters like that. And it says call all other Imperial Trooper allies to deal damage, and they deal 40% less damage. Now, this is why 40% less damage doesn't matter as much in his AoE call, and that is because they are so buffed up. These characters have so much offense, so much critical chance, so much critical damage increases with each other that taking a penalty does not make the damage output come down much at all. They actually, if they hadn't done this, this would be the most powerful team in the game across the board against absolutely anybody and everybody. So the damage penalty of 40% less was actually critical, because even with this damage penalty, they can still group attack for 50, 60,000. And that is absolutely leading up to its name, Ruthless Assault, for sure. Now, his leadership ability is pretty awesome. It allows for all Empire, doesn't have to just be troopers, all Empire allies will gain plus 30% offense. This is what I'm talking about. He's boosting everybody's offense right out the gate. And the Imperial Trooper allies are going to gain 20 speed, just a bulk 20. Boom. It's like a really amazing mod on every single Imperial Trooper. And they gain 10% turn meter whenever they gain a buff. Now I told you to hold your hats with his basic. His basic will apply speed up for 2 turns, and it will give it to a random trooper ally. So anytime he gets it, he's going to get 10% turn meter, and whenever they get speed up, they're going to get 10% turn meter. So he's buffing them and speeding them up in 2 different ways with this, plus he's making them heavier hitters to directly combat that penalty in his Ruthless Assault. And his unique, he has one unique, it is called Aggressive Tactician. Whenever an enemy is defeated while Veers is active, it means he's still alive and on the board, Imperial Trooper allies are going to gain offense up for 2 turns. That's another buff. That's more turn meter for everybody. They'll also gain 50% turn meter. Okay, so now they're going to hit harder. They already have 50% of their turn meter bar filled, and they recover 10% protection. So they now are going to be doing something similar to what Cody does or what Jyn Erso gives with the leadership ability in protection regeneration. All they got to do is kill someone and they become harder hitters, faster, and they get protection back. This is pretty overpowered for sure. It says, while Veers is active, of course, that means he's still alive, Imperial Trooper allies will have a plus 15% critical chance. Now, when I was recording this video, one thing I noticed is that all of the Imperial Troopers were hitting for like 10,000 to 30,000 on their basics, on their specials, and that is for everyone, which is absolutely crazy. I had Shore Trooper actually hitting for like 11,000 on a basic. Shore Trooper. A tank hitting for 11,000 on a basic. This is absolutely crazy. But the reason why is because we all know critical damage is much more than the traditional damage. And the only way to make sure they're critting and getting that additional damage is to make sure their critical chance is up. Well, this Aggressive Tactician makes sure all Imperial Troopers have a plus 15% critical chance. Now, we know kind of the threshold in game is about 40 to 44% critical chance. You really want to get there or above, which means that you really only need to get your critical chance on all your troopers up to about 28 to 30 before this will kick in and put you where you need to be, which means that you don't even have to hardly mod any of your Imperial Troopers with critical chance. Now, why this is key is he gives them additional speed, and he gives them additional critical chance, and he gives them additional offense. Now, if you can put offense mods, critical damage mods, and speed onto your character, these guys are going to hit for a ridiculous sum of damage. Absolutely love his kit. This team overall, I'm going to go over kind of my overall view of General Veers now. General Veers and his troopers. If you're going to go into Cantina, they're going to smoke every Cantina battle. If you're going to go into Galactic War, they're going to smoke all the way through from first to end in Galactic War. If you go into dark side battles, if you go into Arena, most teams in Arena will be smoked by a General Veers-led Imperial Trooper team. There are a couple of Achilles heels. Every team has an Achilles heel where another team can beat it, right? We all know that Darth Vader can beat Rex, but Rex can beat Darth Maul can beat Darth Vader. It's kind of this weird circle of life, and they make sure to have a balanced game so that way you can pursue a different synergy that you prefer. So if you love the Imperial Troopers and you always couldn't wait for Stormtrooper to become a viable character, then this is absolutely the rework you've been waiting for. Now, their Achilles heel, like I mentioned, is Darth Maul. And I know Darth Maul is currently the meta, so that's going to scare a lot of people. But have heart. A lot of people, most people, do not make their Arena team a complete set of a rework. For example, when Resistance came out, there was 5 Resistance characters. All of them were reworked, and one of the most overpowered teams I ever saw included 3 Resistance and 2 non-resistant characters. And we know those hybrid teams are what make up the Arena. Even Sith teams right now are hybrid, with General Kenobis on Sith teams or Kylo Ren sitting on a Sith team. And so keeping that in mind, while General Veers and his team may have an Achilles heel, which is they're a little bit soft against the Maul meta, you have to understand the reason why. And the reason why they're not as good against the Sith meta is because of all of the debuffs, the crazy amount of debuffs that the Sith teams apply, and they have some significant evasion, so it makes it hard for General Veers and his guys to actually hit them. And that's every team. Every team going against Maul is having a hard time hitting Maul. So this doesn't degrade or break down General Veers' abilities in any way, shape, or form. It just means that no matter what you have to do, if you're going against a Maul team, you're going to have to put characters into your Arena team that are going to help clear the debuffs over your Imperial Troopers' heads. So someone like General Kenobi or Barriss Offee or Rex, those are characters you can put into a General Veers team and make it completely and utterly viable. Now, when we talk about General Veers being a leader, the number one question people have asked is, who would I want as the Imperial Troopers? And so like I just said, you're going to want a hybrid team, and you're going to want to have at least one cleanser from outside because they're missing a cleanser. So you'll want Barriss Offee or General Kenobi or Rex or someone. But for Imperial Troopers, this is my recommendation. My recommendation is that you have a General Veers lead Shore Trooper. Now, let me tell you why you need Shore Trooper. Not only is he a very tanky tank, but he can taunt, not only initially on an initial taunt, but he can also taunt as an ability. And in that taunt, he's going to heal everybody and give everybody critical hit immunity. Now, if you want to make your team more viable, critical hit immunity will make sure that everybody hitting you is just not hitting you very hard. It suppresses their hits to basics, not criticals. And he heals everyone. So he is the healer of the team and a tank of the team. That's highly important that you have both a healer and a tank. And the critical hit immunity is over the top. Now, Death Trooper is the heaviest hitter in this for a single shot. I have him hitting for almost 50,000 on his special, and so he is going to be someone you're going to want in there. Plus, he has a health down buff, and he has a dispel, an AoE dispel. So when you're fighting against teams that have taunts and have retribution up and all these other different buffs up, he's going to be able to wipe the board, get all those green off their head, and apply a health down. The health down is significant in eliminating your targets quickly, as it takes their health 20% down. Pretty amazing. And then I would have Snow Trooper as your third trooper under General Veers. I would skip Stormtrooper and Magma Trooper, as they're both good. Their reworks make them great, but you have got to have a cleanser on this team that can keep these guys from being debuffed. The moment they're debuffed, if you don't clear it, they start to lose their efficiency quickly. But Snow Trooper is probably, of all three that I've recommended, Shore Trooper, Death Trooper, and Snow Trooper is the most overpowered of all of them. He is crazy. On his basic, he'll hit for about 10k, but that is not where you're going to use him. You see, Snow Trooper has an AoE ability where he can just attack everybody and hit them for 20 to 30,000, and he can use this ability almost every single turn. Because of the cooldown reset that Snow Trooper has, that he has as his abilities, he will be able to use this AoE potentially every single turn. And with him hitting for 10 to 30,000 to each person across the way, each character across the way, he's going to be doing significant 50 to 130 or 140,000 damage. Basically, Snow Trooper, if you want a good analogy, is the new Lando Calrissian. So for anyone who went on the Lando meta during that period of time with Rebels, where they had Lando as the leader for the extra speed, and they had him because of the AoE, because Lando could hit everybody for 20k, that is Snow Trooper. He is completely the new Lando for the team. So my thoughts of General Veers and his Imperial Troopers is,
let's make sure my beard agrees with General Veers. Do you agree? I agree.
It is one of the strongest reworks I have seen. Their Achilles heel is they have no cleanser, and they're not as strong against the Maul meta because of that. Because Maul is going to put a ton of debuffs down, you're going to need a cleanser on the team, which means you have to make a hybrid team. But you want the synergy the Imperial Troopers bring, so you're going to want General Veers as the leader. Snow Trooper, Death Trooper, and Shore Trooper is the best case scenario, and General Veers is going to shine. Make sure that you leave your comments down below as to what you think about the rework. I'm super excited to see General Veers into the arena. I'm glad that the troopers have finally gotten some love. As always, keep your gaming on. Warrior, out.